Hey everyone, so let's solve another question from the 150 list called rotate array. Given some integer array nums, rotate the array to the right by k steps, where k is some non-negative integer. So in the first example, you can see after you rotate it once, the 7 comes here. So basically the 7 just traverses to the beginning of the list, and then here's step 2 and 3. And I guess something to notice is that if k is 3, that just takes the last 3 elements, places it to the front, while maintaining the order of the rest of the array. So this problem seems quite straightforward, but the caveat is that you want to solve this in constant space. So you're not allowed to do any like array slicing to sort of do this, I guess, in a line. We have to think of something that doesn't introduce any other data structures. And typically these problems are solved using like pointers and like swapping of different elements because those are, they don't introduce any data structures, so they'll still be constant in space. So let's write an example. This is very similar to example 1, but I'll just add another element like 8, and we'll use k equals 3. So we know that we want these 3 elements to now go to the beginning of an array. But how can we do that? One approach you might think is, why don't we just swap, I guess, these 2 elements, right? Because that would get the 6 in the right place. Then we swap these 2 elements, and then these 2 elements. Because then the 6, 7, 8 will be right here, and then I guess the 1, 2, 3 would replace it. So let's just look at what that would look like. Okay, so you have 6, 7, 8, and like this. You realize that yes, this is good, but we want to maintain the order of the rest of the array, and you can kind of see that it doesn't look as nice. So I guess this wouldn't be the best approach. Something else you can note is that how do we get these elements sort of from the end to now the beginning? Well, you can actually just reverse the entire array. And now, yes, you have these 3 elements within the first 3 elements of the array, except they're in the wrong order, right? It should be 6, 7, 8. But you can simply fix this by just reversing this portion. So 6, 7, 8, that's good. And then you realize, well, the rest of the array isn't in the right order. It's just basically just reversed. So you can just reverse this as well. And just like that, you got the right output. So this question revolves around sorting the entire array and then, or rather reversing the entire array and then reversing the subcategories, which is in this case, if k is 3, you reverse the first 3 elements and then the remainder. Okay, so I'll start off by defining, I guess, the reverse function. What we're going to do to reverse a array, well, we want a start and end index, right? So if we're reversing the entire array, we'll probably put in like 0 and the length of the array minus 1. And then how you reverse it is you basically just want to swap these 2 endpoints, so 1 and 8. Then you want to move in and you want to swap the 7 and 2. Then you want to swap the 6 and 3, and then the 5 and 4. And then you realize the start pointer is going to like go here and the end pointer is going to go here, so they're going to overlap and cross each other, which is when we know we can stop, I guess, the swapping process. So this shouldn't be too hard in code. While the start is less than or equal to n, so there's no crossing over, we just want to swap those 2 elements. So nums at start, in Python you can do this just with a line like this. And yeah, once we perform that swap with like the 8 and the 1, now we want to move our pointers inward. So start will now be here and n will now be here. So start will increment and n will decrement. Okay, just like that, we reversed anything. And because we gave these 2 indices, that means that we can also, like, let's say reverse here if I give it indices 0 and 3. So now that this function is done, we can now just call this function 3 times like we wanted to. So we can reverse from 0 to the length of the array minus 1. So this reverses the entire array. Then we want to reverse the first 3 elements. Well, because k is generalized to any integer, we want to do this in terms of k. So it would be reversing from 0 to k minus 1 because it's an indice. If we want to reverse the first 3 characters, well, the last one is at index 2, which is why we have to do a minus 1 here. And then we want to reverse the remainder, which is going to start at k to the end. Um, and the end again is also -1 because it has to be an indice pointing to the last character. And then once you do that, we don't have to return anything. In Python, we mutated the array using this. So yeah, that's one last thing I forgot is that in terms of k, right? Let's say we have 8 elements here and k was 8. Would anything really change? Well, not really, because it's basically just looping itself back. Additionally, with any multiple of 8, like 16 or 24, those don't matter. All you really care about is the remainder after the multiple of 8. So if it was like 26, then you would care about the 2, right? Because after 24 plus 2, well, we know this is going to just result in a cycle, so that won't affect it at all. It's just the 2 that would. So we can actually start by just modding it by the length of nums. And now that should be good if we run it. Yeah, it seems like it works, and if we submit it, it seems pretty efficient.